Hey, thanks for coming back to the channel. A few weeks ago, the nice folks at Saramonic International reached out and asked if I wanted to take a look and review their new Vmic Pro. The Vmic Pro is a camera-mounted shotgun microphone similar to what you'd see from Rode in the VideoMic and VideoMic Pro series, and from Shure, which I've done a video on their VP83 previously. I've never been around or used any of Saramonic's products before, but I do watch a lot of Caleb with DSLR Video Shooter on YouTube, and he's done a fair number of reviews of their different preamps and audio box products, and he usually has good things to say about them.
So in full disclosure, I said yes and accepted their offer to send out a Vmic Pro for review. Now this isn't a paid or sponsored video, and if I do one of those in the future, I'll be very clear about it.
So with that out of the way, let's look at the Vmic Pro. Not being familiar with the other products like the Vmic and the Vmic Recorder that they've had out for some time now, I was a little surprised when the Vmic Pro showed up. The size and the weight of this microphone is just beyond anything I expected. The most popular microphones in this category right now are the Rode VideoMic Pro, the Shure VP83 is popular, and Sennheiser has a number of different microphones, and they're all similar in size. They mount pretty easily on top of a camera, and they're very discreet and easy to take off and put on and stick into your backpack, and generally just don't make it too difficult to get quality audio. The Vmic Pro is in a completely different world though. It's just so big. For any sort of mirrorless camera, even mounted on my Canon 5D, it's huge. It makes the camera very difficult to use. It's just a very large microphone, and you can see in some of these shots here that with my 17-40L lens that I use most often on that Canon 5D, when the microphone bounces up and down on its shock mount, you can see it in the frame. It's so long and it sticks out so far in front of the lens that even on a 17mm full frame, it's entering the frame in a 1920 by 1080 shot. So I'm a bit confused about who this microphone's really for. And I reached back out to Saramonic, and they confirmed that it is intended for vloggers and DSLR video people, folks using mirrorless systems and DSLR cameras and the smaller, more discreet video cameras that are really popular right now. Features-wise, this mic gives you a lot for the money. The normal high-pass filter and level select switch here are joined by a high boost switch. I'm a fan of mitigating low end with the high pass filter, getting rid of any low end content you don't need, rumbles, mechanical noises. But for a manufacturer to include a boost switch, so suggesting that we're going to need to boost the top end I'd prefer the microphone just to be flat as best as possible out to the top of the spectrum, the usable spectrum. And if that's not the case and we have to use a boost, that's generally going to come along with boosting some noise as well. I'm recording all of the audio in this video using a number of different microphones. As you can see, I've got the Shure VP83 mounted on this camera that I'm talking directly into. I've got the Saramonic Vmic Pro recording into the other G7 that's up above, up there. That's got the Saramonic mic going to it. Identical settings, both cameras set to -12, and the microphone set with a high-pass filter. And then down here, I've got the Tascam DR05. Around the front, we have a pair of outputs, which is really cool. So your first output is the typical output that you're going to plug into your camera. I really like that they made this its own output and not a built-in cable. This makes it much easier to use a longer 3.5mm cable to extend to your camera. Those are much easier to find. You can buy them in gas stations now most of the time, and that's just far easier to deal with than trying to find a female-to-male 3.5mm extension cable that you would normally need for a mic with a built-in cable. The other output is a headphone output, which is a really great feature. There's no level control or volume control or anything like that on it, but it does give you the opportunity to plug in some headphones if your camera doesn't come with a headphone output and get an idea of what you're capturing. Obviously, it's not the last thing in the line, so you're not actually monitoring what's being recorded. If you were to have a bad cable between the microphone and the camera or the recorder you were using, and you were only monitoring off of that headphone output, you'd have no idea. You'd have terrible audio, unusable audio, and that would be really unfortunate. So it's cool that it has a headphone out, but questionable whether or not that's really that useful other than it just being better than nothing at all. For me, the overall audio quality is acceptable. If I had to choose between the built-in microphones on a camera and using the Vmic Pro, I'd take the Vmic Pro every day. If I had to choose between doing voiceovers with like my iPhone or using this, I would definitely choose this. It does a good job. If you're willing to work with it and work within its limitations, it produces fine results. It does have a distinct lack of clarity and an overall just mushiness to the tone, and you've got to put in the EQ work on the back end and be willing to deal with that little extra bit of noise that you're going to get by boosting up the high end and so forth. But it is a usable microphone and better than nothing at all. So if it doesn't work on camera, I next tried to put it on a boom, figuring I could boom it. But unfortunately, I had the same problem that I had on the camera, and that's the cold shoe mount that has the 1/4-20 thread in it doesn't secure properly to the actual shock mount on the microphone. So no matter how tight you get it onto a 1/4-20 or how well you tighten it down onto cold shoe, it simply just flops around. And I reached back out to Saramonic. They said they knew about that fault. That was a problem with this prototype, and it has been fixed in the production run. So hopefully that won't be an issue if you've purchased one of these. Not being able to use it on a boom though for these demos, I figured I'd go to a desktop setup. I've got it on an older little GorillaPod here, and it works great on the desktop. It's a decent desktop microphone. It's a little difficult to get out of the way, out of the shot, just because it's so large. I can hide something like this Tascam DR5 a lot easier in a shot. But this microphone does do a good job. In fact, I've recorded all the voiceovers and the parts where I'm talking to the camera with this microphone for my last 2 videos, and nobody's mentioned anything, nobody sent an email, nobody's shown up at my door saying, oh, your audio sucks. So it definitely produces usable results. Now, are those results as easy to get as they are with the VP83 or the Tascam DR05? No, they weren't. It does take a lot more work with the EQ to get it to sound the way I want my mics to sound. This is a very, very dark microphone. And part of the reason for that is this windscreen. The windscreen on the microphone is absolutely not acoustically transparent. I've got a real Rycote here, which you can see on the inside is a very open foam type material that really cuts down a lot of wind, but it's very transparent. The one I use on my VP83, I believe, is from, I don't know who this is. I'll link this below, the one I use on my VP83. This is really, really nice and transparent. Very lightweight, very easy to put on and off. It's a really good little cheap, I think these were like $20 or $30. Well, this is a good cheap option. And it was great. I was super excited to see that Saramonic included this one. But with it on there, it's a really, really dark microphone. The build quality of this microphone does seem to be really good. It's made out of metal, it's very rugged, and overall it feels like it's built well. When you start taking it apart, I reached out again to Saramonic to ask them specifically, what's the reason behind the size? Why is it so big? Is there an official company, statement as to why they're choosing to make microphones that are almost twice the size as what you get otherwise? And they responded right away and let me know that the size of the microphone was due to their designing with the intent to reduce as much off-axis noise as possible. And in an effort to do that, they've done pretty well with that. It does reject off-axis sounds. But I've had windows open with traffic, I've had fans, I don't shoot in a soundproof studio, and it's done a really good job of mitigating the typical off-axis noise that your average YouTuber would experience trying to record at home or in a public space talking to the camera. It does a really good job at that. What I don't really like is the fact that the circuitry is in such a massive housing. If the design of the tube, if the length of the tube on the shotgun mic is a function of the design, then awesome, that's great, but it's just huge. Overall, the thing's huge. I really like that it's made out of metal. I like how rugged it is, but that's one of the reasons why I bought the Shure VP83. It's made out of metal, it's got good off-axis rejection, and it's tiny. So for $159, what do our options look like? There's an absolute ton of other microphones in the sub $200 price range. There's a lot of stuff by manufacturers that you may own a camera from. Panasonic and Canon both have options, and those might not be the best microphones in the world, but they are small. Rode has a ton of microphones, again, from very small up to pretty big for the stereo model, the stereo one that sits very tall off the camera, but the video mic series in general are very discreet and reasonably sized microphones, and there's a number of their smaller ones available for under $200 that are very, very popular. Personally, when I've been shopping in the sub $200 range for a camera mounted microphone, I was able to buy the Shure VP83 for $155 used but like new in a box off of eBay, and the Tascam DR05 you can buy for around $100. It'll go on a camera with a cold shoe adapter for another like $3 or $4. It's got a headphone out, it's got a recorder built in, it's got stereo mics, and I use it all the time for voiceover and camera mounted stuff. And for $100, it just blows the vmic out of the water. It's a really usable microphone with very little EQ being needed after the fact. So for me, the vmic Pro being so large doesn't really fit in anywhere. Even if the vmic Pro was one of the best sounding microphones on the market, for the size, I would still be reaching for a smaller microphone more often than not. For the intended market, I just think the size is too important. Being able to put it into my backpack quickly, being able to pull a mirrorless camera out, shoot 4K video and capture quality audio in something that fits in a bag I'm already carrying, that's like a really popular concept right now, and I just can't do that with the vmic Pro. So I think Saramonic made a good effort with this mic. I just don't know who it's for. The microphone works, it's got some neat options. I like the headphone output, I like the way it's built, I like that it takes AA batteries and not a 9-volt, that's huge. I do like a lot of stuff about this microphone. Maybe you have a use for it, and I'd love to hear what you would use the mic for, or if anybody watching has one of the vmics or the vmic recorder or the vmic Pro. I'd love to hear from folks that actually use these. Saramonic makes some really interesting stuff, some interesting adapter boxes and various wireless systems, and people find all sorts of uses for those adapter boxes that I would have never thought of. So let us know in the comments down below how it works for you and what you use it for and why you chose it. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching as always, and thanks to those who support the channel on Patreon and by following the affiliate links below. Be sure to jump over to the website, DcSoundOp.com, join the forum, say hello, ask a question. I just got the first run of new stickers in from Sticker Mule, and I am going to be ordering more of these in some different sizes, and I'll be giving the first batch away to forum members. So join the forum and say hello, and when I get the next batch of stickers in the next week or so, I will send them out to forum members. Thanks again to Saramonic for sending the vmic out for review. Again, I really respect when companies are willing to do that. And it gives us all a chance to learn, take it apart, have a look, and see what's really going on inside these products. And I appreciate the opportunity to share that with everyone else. If you've got something you'd like to send in for review, for a teardown, for a attempted repair, let me know if you got something you'd like to send in, and if it's something cool, we'll make an episode about it. So you can reach me through the website or DcSoundOp@gmail.com. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching. See you next time.